Mind, spirit, or mechanics, the quantum leap from void to being. Chapter 2. The brain as a nonlinear decision system. The human brain is often compared to a computer, but this comparison is misleading. A computer processes information in a fixed, step-by-step, deterministic sequence. The brain does nothing of the sort. Instead, it is a vast, self-organizing, nonlinear system in which billions of neurons and trillions of synapses interact all at once. These interactions create patterns of activity that depend not only on current inputs but also on context, noise, and the entire history of the system's prior states. Understanding this nonlinearity is essential for understanding how decisions form, how will emerges, and why the shift from indecision to commitment resembles the quantum process in which a system collapses from many possibilities into one actual state. A linear system behaves proportionally. Double the input, double the output. Linear systems are predictable, reversible, and easy to break into parts. A nonlinear system behaves differently. Small changes in input can produce huge changes in output. The whole system behaves in ways that cannot be predicted from its parts alone. And the system's past, its trajectory through state space, matters as much as its present. Whether ecosystems and economies are nonlinear, the brain is even more so. This nonlinearity is not a flaw. It is the source of the brain's flexibility, creativity, and its ability to undergo sudden shifts that we experience as insight, decision, or transformation. Dynamical systems theory provides the mathematical language for describing nonlinear systems. It tracks how a system moves through a multidimensional state space over time. A key concept in this framework is the attractor, a region of state space toward which the system naturally gravitates. A fixed-point attractor is a resting state. A periodic attractor is a repeating cycle. A strange attractor is a fractal pattern that never exactly repeats but never leaves its structure, producing deterministic yet unpredictable behavior, what we call chaos. In the brain, attractors correspond to stable patterns of neural activity, a memory, a perception, a decision, a mood, or even an identity. At any moment, the brain is moving through a high-dimensional landscape shaped by its wiring, synaptic strengths, and neurotransmitter dynamics. Decision-making, in this view, is the brain's movement from a region where multiple attractor basins overlap, a zone of instability and open potential, into a region where one attractor becomes dominant. The work of computational neuroscientist Xiaojing Wang shows how this happens. In his models, groups of neurons representing different choices compete through mutual inhibition. As one group becomes more active, it suppresses the others, creating a winner-take-all dynamic. But the process is noisy. Random fluctuations in synaptic transmission, spike timing, and background activity influence the outcome. This noise is not a problem. It is essential. It allows the system to explore possibilities before committing. It also means that decisions are genuinely probabilistic. The same inputs can lead to different outcomes on different occasions. Decisions emerge from the interaction of evidence, noise, and nonlinear circuit dynamics, not from inputs alone. Marius Usher and James McClelland formalized this picture in their 2001 leaky competing accumulator model. In their framework, evidence for each option accumulates in separate units that gradually leak activity unless new evidence arrives. These units inhibit one another, and a decision occurs when one unit crosses a threshold. This model explains many features of human decision-making: why faster decisions tend to be less accurate, how stimulus difficulty affects reaction time, and why people show characteristic patterns of error and confidence. Most importantly, it shows that decision-making is a non-linear process in which competing possibilities are gradually narrowed to a single outcome through the interplay of evidence, noise, and thresholds. J. A. Scott Kelso introduced another crucial concept: metastability. A metastable system is neither locked into a single attractor nor drifting randomly. Instead, it hovers near attractors without being captured by them, balancing integration, parts working together, and segregation, parts acting independently. Kelso's research shows that the brain operates in this metastable regime. This allows it to maintain stable perceptions and plans while remaining ready to shift when circumstances change. Metastability is the neural signature of being on the edge of decision, open, flexible, and poised to commit. In the language of this dissertation, it is the neural equivalent of being in superposition. This scientific description aligns closely with the subjective experience of making a difficult decision. Before committing, we often feel suspended between possibilities. The mind moves back and forth, testing each option, sensing its emotional and practical weight. Time can feel strange, stretched, paused, or thickened. Then, often suddenly, the decision crystallizes. One option becomes clear, the others fall away, and a new sense of direction replaces the earlier uncertainty. Once the decision is made, it can be hard to remember what true indecision felt like. The landscape has changed. Dynamical systems theory predicts this phenomenology. The predecision state corresponds to a metastable region where multiple attractors overlap. The oscillation between options reflects the system's movement near different attractors without settling. The sudden clarity corresponds to crossing a threshold and falling into a single attractor basin, a bifurcation, a qualitative shift triggered by a quantitative change. And the irreversibility reflects the difficulty of escaping an attractor once the system has entered it. Human cultures have long described this experience in remarkably similar ways. The ancient Greeks distinguished between chronos, ordinary time, and kairos, the charged moment of decision when the future pivots. Greek tragedy's concept of moira, or fate, reflects the sense that certain outcomes draw us toward them like attractors. In Hindu thought, Dharma describes a life path that is both chosen and discovered, a pattern one is drawn toward. Taoism's Wu Wei, or effortless action, describes moving with the natural dynamics of the system rather than forcing one's will upon it. These traditions can be understood as phenomenological descriptions of what it feels like to be a nonlinear system navigating a landscape of attractors. The idea of divine guidance fits this framework as well. In a nonlinear system, decisions depend on countless factors the conscious mind cannot track: the state of billions of neurons, synaptic history, hormones, sleep, stress, social context, and a lifetime of experience. Consciousness perceives only the final outcome, the sense of rightness, the intuition that one path is the one to follow. It is natural to attribute this guidance to God, the universe, ancestors, or the Tao, because the conscious mind cannot see the underlying processes. The guidance is real. The interpretation is a story the mind uses to explain what it cannot observe. This does not diminish religious experience. It suggests that ancient spiritual language and modern nonlinear dynamics describe the same phenomenon from different angles. This view has profound implications for understanding the self. If the brain is a nonlinear dynamical system, then the self is not a fixed thing but an ongoing process, a stable pattern of activity maintained by neural architecture and attractor dynamics. The self is something the brain does, not something it has. It is a trajectory shaped by genes, experience, and the attractors that pull it forward. It can undergo abrupt transitions, metaphorical quantum leaps, from one attractor basin to another. And the feeling of free will arises from the system's sensitivity to noise, context, and subtle influences that tip the balance between competing attractors. The brain is deterministic in principle but unpredictable in practice, because its processes are too complex, too sensitive to initial conditions, and too influenced by genuine quantum randomness to forecast. This is not the dualist freedom of an immaterial soul. It is the freedom of a complex system at the edge of chaos, responsive, creative, and deeply alive.